The staff is getting ready to give us the go-ahead, so it'll be just a moment or two more.
You guys are live.
Oh, we are on?
Oh yeah, this is Lydia. I've been watching you for the last 5 minutes.
Oh, my.
You can tell Megan her hair is perfect.
Thank you. Getting a little
Okay.
flat in the evening. You know how it is.
It's all good.
Thank you, Lydia, for letting us know that we are live.
See, this is what happens when you have transparency, Jerry. It's a good thing.
It is a very good thing.
Find you and watch you.
In my case, it might not be pretty, but at least it's there.
Absolutely.
So as soon as staff gives us the heads up that we are recording, because this does go to YouTube, then we will go ahead and commence. Very good, thank you. We will go ahead, and I'd like to call this meeting of the Clay County Commission to order. We will begin with our invocation. Mr. Salisbury, if you would like to proceed, please do.
Will do. Pray with me. Father, we are grateful for the opportunity to gather. We ask your presence in this meeting and your blessing on it. Please give us humility and counsel and empathy and compassion as we go about the business of Clay County, Missouri. We ask these all in Jesus' blessed name. Amen.
Might I suggest that anybody not speaking, go ahead and mute their devices. I can hear some extraneous noise. It's not too bad, but just to kind of keep the sound level where we need it. That moves us to the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. With that, if the clerk would please call roll.
Commissioner Nolte?
Here.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Here.
Commissioner Thompson?
Here.
Very good. That brings us to the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to take up the agenda? And then after that, we can consider any changes or amendments that might be presented. Is there a motion on the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as printed.
Motion has been made for approval of the agenda. Discussion. One of the things that I would like to add is the next item, which is meeting schedule. We don't have a meeting coming up on that. The next thing that I am aware of is on Tuesday, the 12th at 9:30, we will begin budget hearings, and those are open to the public. Those are public hearings. So I would make a motion that we amend our agenda under meeting schedule to designate Tuesday, January 12, 9:30 a.m. Discussion. Commissioner Thompson, do you have any comments?
I do not. Thank you.
Commissioner Carpenter?
No, thank you.
Very good. In that case, please call the roll.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter, sorry.
Yes.
Very good. I do want to mention at this point, for those who are new to the process, I will not be voting under our new constitution. The presiding commissioner votes under specific circumstances. Chief among them is in the event of a tie vote. So it's not that I'm sitting this out. It's just that this is these are the rules that we are operating under. So that if anybody has any confusion, I hope that does take care of that. We go back to Commissioner Thompson's original motion of approval of the agenda as amended. Are there any other additions, deletions, or any other alterations to our agenda as published and amended? Seeing none, Commissioner Carpenter, do you have nothing to add?
I am good with the agenda.
Very good. Commissioner Thompson, this is your motion, so I'll go to you for close and vote.
Close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Yes.
The amendment has been approved and amended. That brings us to number 6, meeting schedule, which we just amended a few moments ago. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, January 12, 9:30 a.m., and that will be for the purposes of working on our budget. Next is honorary resolutions. There are none listed. Public hearings, once again, there are none listed. Number 9 on our agenda is commission sessions. The first item on that agenda is 2021 Ordinance 1, approval of ordinance modifications. And that was something that I had submitted. I'm going to make a motion on this, but it's going to be a little bit different than the usual motion. Especially given the subject matter, which I'll go into in a moment. It seems to me that we are very much better served as commissioners going forward when we consider particularly ordinance changes, but certainly resolutions as well, that we take time to consider these carefully and that we make sure that the public has the ability to review what it is we are considering. So I'm going to make the motion that we discuss 2021 Ordinance 1, and then I would ask for a vote to take it up at a future meeting. As I say, the reason for that is because of the content of it. So I've made that motion, and I'll go into a little bit of what it's about. Let me go ahead and pull that up here right quick. Essentially, we have in recent years gone to a system where we have where we take up an issue and vote on it at the same meeting, which I think does not allow the due diligence and the deliberation and the involvement of both the other commission members and the public that I think are required. What I'm suggesting is that we return to what we had before, and that was on a monthly basis to work sessions and to business sessions. A work session would essentially be where a matter was brought up, we would discuss it, but unless the circumstances demanded it, unless there was an emergency or an urgency attached to it, the vote would be to take it up at a business session. Business sessions would be held, what is contemplated here, but there's flexibility, would be roughly 1 week later. And at that point, we would take an issue up again for discussion, and then we would be able to vote on that issue. We wouldn't be required to. We could still delay it for further consideration if that was the will of the commission, but that would allow us to not only have a week to look at it, understand it, and perhaps make suggestions for changes, but it would also give an opportunity for the public to have that same period of time, at least a week, to be able to see it for themselves and contact commissioners, through emails or whatever else, and to have their opinions brought forth prior to the meeting itself. That's a lot of it right there. There's also something on there about executive sessions or closed sessions. One of the things that I've been advocating as we've gone along is that we have our closed sessions adhere to an agenda. Now, that agenda would, of course, be made known to the commission, council, and the administrator, and whatever other persons would be necessary. But the thought process behind that is this: when we vote to go into executive session, we are in fact making the assertion that what we are going to be talking about is in fact an appropriate issue for executive session. And this is an effort to make sure that commissioners, when casting their votes, are in fact casting an informed vote for that. Let's see. Yeah, so yeah, it's requiring that we not vote on anything unless it is included. There are some obvious exceptions in case of an emergency, and then that would be requiring a supermajority to be able to go forward. In the case of our current configuration, that would still be 2 commissioners. When we complete the transition from the 3-person commission that we are under currently to a fully implemented constitution, and we have 7 members, that of course would be 5 members. Further on to that is that would impact another chapter, 30.24, which would impact our meeting schedule. So it would, there are some technical issues that make sure that we would be compliant with that. With that, like I say, that is why I think that calling for a vote on something like this would, among other things, be pretty ironic, because the point is to allow that amount of time. There is not a time of implementation on this particular one. What I would suggest is that we make it a February 1 start date so that we have the ability to bring this into full usage and have the ability to fully discuss this. As I say, ordinance change is more serious, and I think bears that extra scrutiny that I think is reasonable and should be expected of the commission. With that, I will open up the discussion beyond that. If either commissioner would like to weigh in, certainly please feel free.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. As a standard practice, it makes a lot of sense to take a week and consider a proposal so that everybody can actually study it closely and consider the implications involved, especially after discussion has been allowed to happen, because that can help to have brought forth additional information and elucidate things that before the initial meeting wouldn't have been known. So I think it makes a lot of sense. Did you, I assume there are opportunities in emergency situations to vote on something the same week?
Yes, and in fact, there are both here and elsewhere in our ordinances, there are provisions there, but specifically, excuse me, in this particular proposal, there are where it would require a supermajority, but it would be when an occasion arises that requires immediate action, then we can go forward with that. And certainly, among other things, I would want this submitted to council to make sure that not only does it flows like it should, but also to make sure that we have not inadvertently found ourselves in conflict with state statute or any other regulations that we need to take into account.
Thank you.
Commissioner Thompson.
No, thank you, Commissioner Nolte. I agree. I think this is a good opportunity for us to be able to review the documents and look them over before we take any actions that's going to change anything in the way we govern. So I appreciate you bringing this forth, and I think a lot of this looks pretty good, but some would like to look over a little further. So
that is entirely the idea, and like I said, it would be so contrary to the spirit of what is trying to be accomplished here to make it an immediate action item that I just can't see it. And my motion was to put it onto a future meeting. One of the reasons that I did not specify is because we are currently in the midst of putting together budget, which is absolutely under a specific and rather tight deadline. So I wanted to make sure that we were able to take this up when we had the opportunity to study it more and we're not inundated with the budget process, which we are currently engaged in. With that,
Commissioner, may I ask a question?
yes, of course.
So I had a conversation with staff today, and this is maybe a general question, but if you look at the format of this document, there's the bolding and the bracketing to tell, bolding is for additions, bracketing is for deletions. Is everybody comfortable with that approach? Is that a format that everybody would like to continue?
Good question. Commissioners?
oh, I'm fine with it.
Okay. And then the second thing, and this is more, the final version of any of these ordinances that might be bracketed or bolded that you'll sign will probably only have the actual language, will not have the bracketing and bolding. So it'll be cleaner, I think, for everyone to understand, for the public to understand when it's passed, and for our municipal code to understand what to actually insert in our code. Is everybody comfortable with that? Okay.
I see nods, so we will say yes.
All right, we'll continue with that process. Thank you.
By the way, something else that I want to mention, I had said that it had intersected an additional section of our ordinance. And I'm going to bring this up a little bit more when we get into comments from the commission. But I want to start by expressing my thanks to the staff. I had submitted it for inclusion. They had brought to my attention that there was a necessity to alter one of the other sections that were not originally covered by that. So I want to say thank you for that. That's another reason I think why the more extended timeline is a good idea, is because it allows us to make those accommodations and to make sure that there are the fewest possible conflicts within the ordinances that we pass and the resolutions as well. Any further discussion? Are there any members of any other members of the public or elected officials who would like to make comment on this particular issue? I am seeing none. I'll go ahead and just say that as I said, the motion that I made was to take it up at a future meeting. Whether we decide February 1 is the appropriate start date for this is certainly the discussion that I think would be a reasonable subject for either an enhanced version or an amendment being put forward by a member of the commission. I went through that just a moment because I wanted to also, in case there were any technical issues, make one more avail for citizens to comment on what we're talking about here. So are there any citizen or other comments that would like to be made related to this particular item, that is to say 2021 Ordinance 1? Seeing none, motion is to place this on a future meeting for further consideration. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Carpenter,
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
The vote is affirmative. That brings us to our next item. That is 2021 Ordinance 2. That is to repeal 2020 Ordinance 43, reinstate the previous Human Resources Policy Manual. Is there anyone who would like to make a motion on that?
I'll make a motion to approve 2021 Ordinance 2.
Thank you. This was also one that I had brought forward. The reason I'm bringing this forward is that particular ordinance from last year was brought in, and it's a very apt illustration of the issue we just talked about some moments ago. It is a document that was something on the order of 68 or 70 pages. In that particular case, it did not have the brackets or the bolding, so that, if I remember correctly, so that it would need to have been gone through line by line to see what changes were there. It might have been just the copy I had, but I didn't see that. Once again, we're talking about the human resources issues in this county with our employees. I think a very serious matter and one that requires more discussion. So what I'm recommending by this is that we set this aside and that we go through those changes and make sure that is what we need. I have talked to members of staff, and there were some concerns expressed that this particular ordinance they did not have the ability to weigh in as they would like to. I'll just put it that way, and that there was some concern that not everything in there was was able to be known in the short time period given to see it. In my particular case, the meeting notice came out on the Friday prior to the meeting. There was, if I remember right, there was not a link on this one. It might have been the other one, but that gave pretty much the 24-hour notice period to be able to read and digest that volume of pages, and I think that was unreasonable. So that's kind of what's behind that. Commissioner Carpenter, do you have anything you'd like to, any questions or anything you'd like to comment on?
No, other than to say, my understanding is this was a change that was made just a couple weeks ago. Is that right?
Correct.
So, it's unclear to me the reasoning behind creating a new HR manual, especially given that it was, being passed by a commission during its last week or two of the members of the commission being on it. And so I think it makes a lot of sense to me, to rescind it for now and reevaluate whatever changes they were trying to make there at the end of December. So.
Yeah, Commissioner, that I'm glad you brought that up. That's a point that I made during the discussion on this. Was it seemed to me more appropriate to bring it to the new commission who would be implementing and living under these rules and have the benefit of the consideration of this commission rather than one that was on its way out the door. So I totally agree with what you're saying there. Commissioner Thompson, do you have any questions or thoughts you'd like to share?
I would just have to agree with both of you that I think this would probably be appropriate to rescind for now, and we can look at if we need any additional changes at a later time.
Very well. Any comments from members of the public or staff or anyone else who's listening?
Commissioners, if I may, can you hear me?
Could just barely. Is this? I said Lydia. I'm sorry.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, if you could talk a little more loudly or be closer to your microphone, that would be helpful.
Okay. This is Lydia McAvoy, collector of revenue, and an independent department that has to operate under the Human Resources Manual. My only comment would be this, and that is that our manual is outdated and it's been a scattered approach in how changes and updates have been dealt with over the past few years. When I first took office, if I wanted to do something different in my office, which is absolutely necessary at times for each office to have their own autonomy, I would make a written policy and I would record it with the clerk and with HR and then make it the official policy of my office. And that way, when new people applied for employment or anyone asked what the policy was in my office, it was a matter of public record. And I felt like that was pretty clean and organized. And then that just sort of fell by the wayside over the past few years. There wasn't a good mechanism for that. And it's just not good management. It's not good for any of us to not know what rules we're operating under. It subjects the county to liability and us to trying to guess what's the best way to handle our offices. So I like that we're rescinding what was done at the last minute. I think that's excellent so that we can at least have some certainty right now. But it's not a bad idea that we come up with some sort of an idea under this new commission with some cooperation of all the departments to have a new updated underlying manual and then a clear policy for what each office holder or independent department should do when they feel the need to amend for their staff, a way to make that organized and transparent and known. It would be the best for all of us and would help the county with liability.
Thank you. I think those are good observations. The two points that I take from your comments, one explicit, one implied. The explicit one would be, I think I would certainly recommend that the commission get the feedback of elected officials and others in government to get their thoughts on how we go forward. While it is a commission decision, I think casting the broadest possible net when it comes to getting input is, I think, wise to do that and to take the time to do it. Secondarily, This is also something that I would very much want to see us run through council so that we would make sure, because we are dealing with issues here that have the potential for legal implications, certainly. So I think prior to passing any revisions or any new employee manuals, I think we would be well advised to get the input of council on those matters.
And I appreciate that, Commissioner. I think the one caution I would give, as office holders, we've talked a lot over the years about trying to have some sort of unified manual. I don't know that that's practical when we all have different concerns and considerations that are, dictated by statute. So I don't know that it's necessary that we all agree on every detail, because I don't know that that's possible. But what we did have before was a framework that the county put forward, and then that was what the office holders could use as a basis for deviation, and have that deviation as some sort of official method for that. You have it have it recorded by the clerk, whatever needs to be done to make sure that it's official and known and organized. Just a good idea. So that's just my 2 cents on that. I don't know that getting all of our input on a unified manual is impractical, much less feasible.
Yeah, I would, what I would say would be input, but it is an administration decision made with the commission in concert with council and obviously the administrator as well, and those in human resources. So it would have to be, I think a group effort is in order. While we would certainly welcome, I think, the input of other elected officials, I think that is something, there has to be a decision-making body, and that would be ourselves. Further comment? Very well. Commissioner Carpenter, do you have any thoughts before I go to Commissioner Thompson to close?
No, just my thoughts from before and ready to vote.
Okay. Oh, I didn't mean to pass you up, Mr. Salisbury, but as our administrator designee, did you have anything you wanted to add before I go to Commissioner Thompson?
My thoughts are this is the right thing to do, to suspend on this one or actually do away with it and let this new commission revisit this. I think it's an important thing to do. The personnel manual affects everybody under the employment of the county. So it is something I think that should have a priority of assessment. But yes, doing this as you're doing it is the right thing to do.
Very well. Commissioner Thompson, I'll go to you to close.
I close.
Very well. If the clerk would please call the roll.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Yes.
Issue has passed. The next item is 2021 Ordinance 3, repealing 2020 Ordinance 48, reinstating the previous park ordinances. Once again, this is one that I had requested be on the agenda. It is very similar to the issue we just took up. The only difference really is that it is it's talking about parks policy, which might not be as sensitive as the human resources policy, but still, I think it is advisable for the new commission to be able to make their mark on this. This is something that it is not, in my view, appropriate for a lame duck commission to impose on a new commission, but something that the new commission needs to consider and make the decisions on. With that, is there a motion on 2021 Ordinance 3?
I'll make the motion to approve 2021 Ordinance 3.
Motion is made for the approval of 2021 Ordinance 3. Discussion?
Yeah, if I could, I would love just maybe a little more information in terms of the changes that were made, and if in terms of if there are any specific concerns. If not, if it's just a matter of timing, similar to the new HR manual, that in and of itself is a pretty legitimate reason. I think rushing things through sort of in a lame duck session in the last couple of weeks before the new commission comes on, it always warrants perhaps a second look. So I'm fine with that. But is there anything in particular that is of concern to you?
I didn't see anything. However, I would point out that this one, unlike its predecessor, that is to say the issue we just took up, did in fact include bracketing and bolding to indicate new language and deleted language. So it will certainly be easier and perhaps something that we could take up. The subject matter is going to be less complex. So I think it's something that we can take up. One of the reasons that I am wanting to be rather cautious about that, and I would like to first take it up again, is there have been a number of concerns brought up having to do with boat slips and other issues. And they have had, in fact, legal impact. So I would certainly want to, once again, involve not only the administrator when we get to that point, but also county council, because there has been, while less fraught with legal problems, there are still issues there, I think, that we need to be cognizant of as we go forward. Commissioner Thompson, do you have anything you'd like to add? Any questions?
I don't have anything. I think you guys are just hitting the nail on the head there. These were rushed through pretty quick there at the end of our predecessor's time here with the county. And I think we just need to have some more time to go through these documents and, you know, decide what we want to have in there.
Thank you. Mr. Salisbury, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Just to echo everybody else's comments, I think you're doing the right thing.
Very good. Mr. Counselor, I did not go to you on the last one, and I apologize. I didn't know if you had anything you wanted to add on this one.
No, nothing further.
Okay. Are there any comments from any members of the public on this issue regarding the parks ordinances? Like I say, this would be what we are talking about doing here, just to restate it, is that we are repealing an ordinance that was passed very late last year, just a few weeks ago, actually. And the parks rules that were, or in ordinances that were in effect, would back into effect. So we'd be basically resetting it. Once again, go back and see, are there any comments from any members of the public on this particular issue? Hearing none. Commissioner Thompson, it was your motion if you'd like to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Yes.
Very good. That moves us to 2021-06, appointment of Clay County Clerk.
I'll make the motion to approve 2021-06.
Thank you, Commissioner. Motion has been made for the approval of 2021-06, appointment of county clerk, commission issue. Commissioner Thompson, if you would like to present that.
Of course. I would like to approve this motion, this item on the agenda today, with the name insert of Sandra Baldwin. I think she would be a great candidate and option for my clerk to finishing out not only just my term, but representing our county in the county clerk's office.
Very good. We will open it up for discussion. I think it might be appropriate to hear from county council. There is a timeliness here, a timeliness issue here. Mr. Counselor, if you could just give us a little bit of an idea of that, I think that might be helpful.
Sure. The county clerk, those roles are extremely important to the county. There are documents that have to be signed. There are oaths that have to be administered. Currently, we don't have someone in that office that holds that office. So it is essential that we get this done. And so I certainly am happy to see the county addressing it.
Another issue is, of course, swearing in notice, that sort of a thing. Mr. Counselor, if you could, because there's a rather unusual circumstance here, if you could give us the implications of what we were doing as it applies to the new county constitution.
Sure. So under the old system, the governor would be appointing the elected county clerk if that person was no longer around. Under the county constitution that's now in effect, the county commission does make that appointment, and so it is appropriate for this commission to make that appointment.
Very good. Thank you. Commissioner Carpenter, I'd like to go to you next if you have some remarks that you would like to make, or if you have any questions.
Well, so for me, it's just trying to make sure that we make this as clear as we can for the public in terms of, we're filling a vacancy here of what was an elected position, right? And we're doing so as a regular hire now because of the new county constitution. And so this will be like any other hire, essentially, right? It'll be a permanent hire, not just to fill the remainder of the clerk's term. Is that right, Mr. Counsel?
That is correct. This is not to finish a term. This is essentially an indefinite term, serving at the pleasure of the commission and the county.
Okay, good. And so I just want that to be as clear as it can be, because this is a pretty unique situation, in terms of filling a vacancy for an elected position at the same time as we've got a new constitution which affects that position. So I assume some people might find it a bit confusing. I know I have, so I just want folks out there to know what we're doing.
Mr. Salisbury, since this is a position that will be under your authority once you assume the office of administrator, do you have anything you'd like to add?
I defer to the wisdom of the commission on this one and people that know this candidate and recommend this candidate. So I'm perfectly happy to defer to the commission on this.
My understanding that the person nominated is on the line. Ms. Baldwin, if you would like to make any comments or have anything that you'd like to express, certainly feel free.
I would just like to say one thing, that I do thank the commissioners for having trust in me to put me in this position, and that I will work and continue to work hard for the county and for the citizens. And again, thank you, commissioners, for trusting me with this position.
Are there any comments from the public?
Commissioners, I just have a couple questions, and I definitely want to start by saying I wholeheartedly approve of the qualifications and the person of.
Excuse me, could you speak just a little more loudly? We're having trouble.
I apologize. And I just wanted to say that I wholeheartedly have enjoyed working with Sandy over the years, and I believe she is an excellent candidate. I have a couple technical questions. I'm assuming that since this is no longer an elected position, it is okay. Sandy, correct me if I'm wrong, but are you a Clay County resident?
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought at one time you lived outside the county. Okay. Somebody had brought that up to me, so I just wanted to ask. Okay. And this is very delicate, and I apologize to both of you because I like you and Tracy very much, but is there any conflict with our clerk being related to our assessor in any way, shape, or form? Although I know that I have the utmost faith in both of them to act with, the highest ethics. I'm just asking the question.
Maybe I can address that.
I think so. By the way, Mr. Counselor, as you were addressing that, we are talking about a personnel issue, so you might just give us a few thoughts on what the rules of the road are basically when we're talking about someone who is contemplated for employment.
Sure, I will certainly tread lightly. When it comes to a public meeting, we never want to have a public discussion about candidates for employment or anything of that nature. I will say that as to the conflict of interest, in this situation, there certainly is not one. They're both, technically, we have an assessor elect. We don't even have an assessor in office that would create an issue there. But there is no, in my estimation, there is no conflict of interest.
Thank you.
Sure.
No problem. Very well. I just want to say that I have worked with Sandy Baldwin since my time coming into this government in 2015. I am very happy to see that she is assuming this role. I think that this also lends something that we need very much in this county, that is institutional knowledge and a sense of continuity in the most positive sense possible. And I think that that Sandy covers both of those bases very well. And certainly we appreciate the service that she has been rendering this county and the service she will continue to render this county. And I would be remiss if I didn't also express my gratitude to the immediately former clerk, Commissioner Thompson. She has done a wonderful job in that position, and if she were still in that position, I think we would be doing very well. But I think she's doing we're getting a higher use of her talents as a commissioner, and I appreciate the fact that she has stepped up first as clerk and now as commissioner. Any further discussion? I will be going then to Commissioner Thompson for closing remarks. So, Commissioner Carpenter, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, just that I look forward to working with Sandy Baldwin as our new clerk. I think she'll do amazingly.
Very good. Commissioner Thompson, I'll go for you. Any further comments and close?
Well, for starters, thank you very much, Commissioner Nolte. I do appreciate that. The very heartfelt, very nice comments made on me. I will brag on Sandy real quick because she will not do it for herself, but she has been with the clerk's office for the past 14 years, and she has been chief deputy for the majority of them. She not only trained me, but my predecessor and my predecessor's predecessor, and numerous staff members that have come through this door. And she is the right hand, the backbone of this clerk's office, and I know she's going to do a terrific job, and I look forward to working with her in her new role. If we vote on it, I'll agree. So I will close with that.
Thank you. If there's no further discussion, please call the roll.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Yes.
Issue 2021-06 passes with the name Sandra Baldwin. Congratulations to our new clerk. That brings us to discussion items. There are no discussion items listed. We have two different public comments type sections next on our agenda. The first one is comments on agenda items. Those would be items that we have had for discussion on this agenda. Once again, I'm going to go through the list. The first on the list is public comments. After I finish with the list, I will come back to public comments because I want to basically do a double check, make sure that we have done our best to make sure the public has the ability to call in and to make comments or to make comments. So I'll go with that. So are there any comments from the public on the agenda items? Seeing none. Are there any commissioner comments on the agenda items that we have just discussed? Seeing none. Are there any office holders who would like to comment on the issues that we have just discussed? Hearing none. Any agency, other agency comments on what we have discussed as an agenda item? Then I'll circle back around. Are there any public comments on agenda items that we have taken up today? I just wanted to, at this point, make a comment that we are working to enhance our ability to take public comments. The staff is working hard to make sure that we can, in fact, implement, a much more robust method of getting those comments. It is not, we are a work in progress here, so this is not by any means where we would want to stay. Those efforts are being made by staff to start to bring those more and more to fruition. So that's something I think that everybody in this government, and certainly the commission, is behind, is the increased transparency and the ability of the public to comment. That brings us to comments on non-agenda items. Those would be items that were not discussed so far in this meeting and were not on the agenda. Are there any public comments on non-agenda items? Hearing none. Comments from commissioners on non-agenda items. I've got two things that I would just like to bring up. One is I had mentioned, I touched a little bit, but it's not an agenda item on 2021 Ordinance 1 when I made reference to the fact that staff was helpful in bringing about some improvements to what my proposal was. I would like to see going forward that there be a greater degree of cooperation with staff when it comes to these kinds of issues. So I would like to see us move more into a situation to where staff has the ability to make suggestions to us. I think we benefit from having as many eyes on those proposals that we want to put forward as possible. Once again, recognizing that these votes are indeed commission decisions, I think that we should avail ourselves of the knowledge and the experience of people in our staff who will be more than happy to assist us in these. So I'm looking forward to moving in that direction as we as a commission discuss what that looks like and how we would make that happen. Secondarily, under our Constitution, there is a post which is pro tem for the presiding commissioner. That person would, in the event that the presiding commissioner was not able to attend a meeting for whatever reason, would assume that position. It is my, it's not something that necessarily requires a vote, but I did want to put it out there. My understanding is that I would name that person and put it in written form. It is my intention, and I would like to, I don't want to spring it on anybody here, but it's my intention to, for the year 2021, to ask Megan Thompson to be the pro tem presiding commissioner. And then following that in the year 2022, to prevail on Commissioner Carpenter to assume the position of pro tem for presiding commissioner. I would like it, if those are if those are things that are acceptable to the commissioners, I will start preparing those documents. But I thought it was a good thing to bring up. Unfortunately, it's not. I don't have the availability to necessarily discuss those too much in advance. But that is what my intention is. Mr. Counselor, is that something that method I outlined acceptable under our Constitution?
Yep, that's exactly right. And also the pro tem would serve in the event that maybe you had an issue that you needed, not only you weren't there for on a meeting, but also maybe had to recuse.
Good point. Thank you for that clarification. And I guess I would just ask the other commissioners, Commissioner Thompson, I don't want to put you on the spot, although I suppose to a degree I am. Is that something that you would be willing to serve as?
I am very honored, Commissioner, and I will be happy to help and serve in any way that needs to be done. Yeah, I'm at your service.
Thank you. Commissioner Carpenter, are you good with taking that particular job on in 2022?
Absolutely. This sounds like a good plan to me. So let's do it.
Very good. That's pretty much what I had as far as my comments on non-agenda items. Commissioner Thompson, did you have anything that you would like to bring up on non-agenda items?
I don't have much today. I just am looking forward to moving forward even more into the month. We got a lot of budget going on, and I think so far as our second meeting, this has gone pretty well, and looking forward to work with both of you, commissioners.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Carpenter, do you have any comments that you'd like to make on non-agenda items today?
I do not. Look forward to meeting next week.
Very good. Are there any office holders who would like to make comment on non-agenda items today?
Well, I guess I could make the first comment of the night from this office.
Okay.
I would just like to remind.
Please identify yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is Sandy Baldwin in the clerk's office. I would just like to remind that the commissioners, we will have warrants to be signed regularly. And we do need to have 2 signatures before they can go down to the treasurer's office to be paid. And we will notify a member from the clerk's office will send out emails when we have warrants to be signed for so you all will know when to come in and sign those. And that's it.
Great. I just would make one correction. You are no longer Sandy Baldwin from the clerk's office. You are Clerk Baldwin.
Thank you.
Any other comments from office holders on non-agenda items?
Yes, this is Lydia McAvoy, the collector. And first of all, Sandy, it is so good to hear that, Sandy Baldwin clerk, because we do have a lot to get done, and I'm glad you're going to be in charge. Quick question, and along those same lines, I have, throughout the week, things come up that it would be good to eventually get on a commission agenda or eventually get commission input. And we don't need to be dragging out every time there's non-agenda items, every little laundry list of things. So what is the best way to maybe send that by email or something so the commissioners have it on their radar and a discussion can be started before it becomes an agenda item? And what I've been doing is copying the clerk on those things. And that's kind of what we did before the past few years. But just asking, as random things come up that would be good to get on a commission agenda, but we don't want to have to use up all this time, what is the best way to communicate within the Sunshine Law and within proper administrative procedures? And I'm just realizing maybe it's Mr. Salisbury.
Mr. Salisbury will be assuming the position of administrator shortly, so I'm a little bit reluctant to put a specific protocol into place that would be under his authority and something that we would certainly, I think, entrust him with. I don't know that perhaps in the immediate term, Mr. Counselor, did you have any thought that you'd like to add to that?
No, I think within a week and a half, it'll certainly go through Mr. Salisbury's office. I think until then, individual commissioners certainly can be contacted. You did, Ms. McAvoy, you did mention the Sunshine Law. Please only send those emails or comments to one commissioner, not to all three.
And for example, Councilor Graham, and you may recall this issue from when you were counselor before, we're starting to get requests for waiver of interest and penalties again this year in a way that may actually be able to be brought forward in the same manner as they were previously. And you and I had a discussion that if it was something that could be resolved at my level, because I have a statute that says I cannot charge interest and penalties if I believe it to be inappropriate, that
Right.
I could resolve it at my level, but then I need to allow escalation if the taxpayer wants that. And so we've had two in the last week that had no legal basis. And so I responded to them stating that to see if they would be willing to let it go. And both of them were, but I copied the clerk on that communication so that if they decided to escalate, we were ready to forward it to the commissioners. And that's not something I would want to send to an individual commissioner. So that's kind of what
Could I just point out, Lydia, Madam Collector, that this might not be the best format to solicit legal advice from a county councilor, but I do think that's an important issue that, of how we interact with our citizens and those who are endeavoring to pay their taxes. With that said, Commissioner Graham, within those parameters, would you like to comment? Counselor, sorry.
I think communicating directly with the clerk's office and Ms. Baldwin, I think continues to be a good approach here. I think that's probably the best way to handle it, particularly until Mr. Salisbury's in office.
Thank you.
Very good. Any other office holders would care to make comment on non-agenda items? Hearing none. Are there any other agencies who would like to make a comment on a non-agenda item? Hearing none. And then once again, are there any members of the public who would like to make comment on any non-agenda items? Hearing none. Next on our agenda is approval of minutes of previous sessions. We have none listed, but I think there are some issues that our county councilor would like to address related to that subject.
Yes, Commissioner, thank you. Briefly, we've got a situation where we have three sets of minutes, three meetings were conducted at the end of December. Minutes have been prepared, but they were not approved by the prior commission. And typically that's not a problem, except we've had enough of a changeover that we don't have a majority of the commission that was in place then that is now in place. So I've got three sets of minutes that are prepared, but have not been approved by the commission that was present at that time. And so I guess I'm hoping for some direction from the commission on this. We probably have two options. Option one is to simply just not approve them. That's not my preference for two reasons. One is the minutes are the official record of the county commission. And so if somebody asks, 5 years from now for, the record from that meeting, they should get minutes. And if they're not approved, they're not official. And two, they probably will have unapproved minutes will probably have an impact on audits when we're doing an outside audit. So that's one option. Second option would be for this commission to take these up and approve them, which is obviously a little awkward since the majority of you were not commissioners at the time. I would suggest or offer that if you're willing to consider approving them, that perhaps the clerk's office could forward the audio from those meetings or the video, whatever there may be. You could listen to them if you believe that the minutes are an accurate reflection of the meeting that occurred, that you might then be willing to consider voting on them. So that would be my request.
And on that line, I think what you're looking for is not necessarily a vote, but commission consensus and direction, Mr. Counselor?
That's right. You won't, if there is consensus, we'll get those audio or videotapes to you, and then these minutes will also be sent to you to review, and then ultimately the minutes, once in final form, would be put onto one of your agendas.
Thank you. Commissioner Thompson, do you have any thoughts or questions that you'd like to put forward?
I would be fine with reviewing the previous commission sessions to make sure. Most of those I sat in on myself, but I would like to go through and probably re-listen to the audio to make sure that they reflect accurately. Would there be any chance, though, should we have county counsel weigh in to give us his opinion, saying that he feels that maybe they reflect the audio as well? As a security net kind of?
I'd be happy to take whatever role you'd like me to take.
Sounds good. Commissioner Carpenter, do you have, what are your thoughts on the matter?
No, if we've got to do it, we should do it. So let's proceed.
Would is the clerk's office, I should say, would our new clerk be able to provide those electronic recordings of those meetings? Certainly, I think we need to forward you a list of what we would be looking for, whether they be audio or video. If you could, once getting a list, if you could forward those to each commissioner, is that something that you're comfortable with?
Problem.
Very good. So I think the consensus is that we go with option 2, outlined by the counselor, that he also be included, as Commissioner Thompson suggests, and have those made available to himself as well as a double check, and that the county clerk's office will provide those recordings. And then once everyone has had a chance to review both the recordings and the minutes, we will take them up at a future session for approval, or for that matter, alteration of those at the pleasure of the commission. Does everybody feel as though we have a sufficient instruction to go forward?
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Very good. I don't think there's any other discussion to be had under minutes sections, approval of minutes of previous sessions. That brings us to written reports. The clerk's office may have some reports that either are going to be or have been sent to the commission. If the clerk would like to make comment on that.
Yes, I emailed all 3 of you commissioners a December report for revenue and fees from the clerk's office, and then also I emailed you the December audit report on a cash basis from the Clay County Auditor's Office. I'm hoping you all received them.
Thank you. When we have our traditional in-person meetings, those hard copies of those reports are distributed to commissioners. As we are working in a virtual world right now, they are, as the clerk pointed out, emailed. So I'm just going to ask both commissioners. Commissioner Carpenter, did you receive those reports?
Yes, I do believe it.
Very good. Commissioner Thompson, did you receive the reports?
I did, yes.
And I did as well. So those reports have in fact been submitted. Are there any further written reports that need to be submitted before the commission? Hearing none. We do not have any executive sessions scheduled after this meeting. With that, We come to the end of the agenda of our agenda this evening, and we are adjourned. Thank you very much.